All right. Hey, everyone. How's it going? I see empty seats, so we can squeeze more people in. That's good. As he mentioned, my name is Bailey Reutzel. I'm the U.S. editor for CoinDesk, which is the leading cryptocurrency and blockchain publication. I joined there in August, but I have been in the crypto space since early 2013. In journalism, I started at American Banker, which is a trade publication for financial services. And that's where I really went down the rabbit hole, the cryptocurrency and Bitcoin rabbit hole. Here on my right is Todd Chaffee. Again, he's with IVP. And I'm just going to let him sort of tell you about his experience and his journey and what led him into cryptocurrency.
Oh, my journey.
Yeah.
Nice to see everybody here. I think, the summary is I'm just a VC stumbling into the blockchain industry, so trying to figure it out like a lot of other people. My background, I kind of started in the banking world, then went to American Express, and then Visa, and then from there I went into the venture industry. So I've been at IVP for about 18 years, and we are growth investors. We invest in companies that are generally around 20 million in revenue and try to work with the management team to scale them up to $1 billion plus in revenue.
Great. And Coinbase is the first blockchain company IVP invested in, correct?
Right.
So tell us a little bit about how that came to be the first blockchain investment IVP did.
Yeah. We are super selective about the types of companies in which we invest. We see thousands of deals a year. We generally invest in 10 to 15 companies a year. Coinbase is, they came in, they're kind of in the top 1% of all the deals that we see. If you take the venture business, you can kind of simplify it. There's kind of three buckets. 90% of the companies that we see just don't make the cut. They're not something that we're really interested in. There's kind of a 9% group, which is, we kind of call the muddle pile, which is, I think there's a deal in there somewhere, but I'm not sure. I need to do more work. And then there's the companies, the top 1%, where it's very clear that it's a fantastic company. And it's not so much a question of should we invest, it's more a question of can we invest. Those companies are always super clear to all the other venture firms out there, and so it becomes much more of a competitive battle, kind of a dogfight to win the round. And so that's what happened with Coinbase. Just hit all the marks. Compelling product, huge market, a market leader in their particular market, incredible management team, and exceptional financial profile. So it was pretty straightforward. That's the company we wanted to back, and it was just a question of getting in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think anybody would argue that Coinbase is a leader in this space, especially in the U.S. Seeing that you went with Coinbase first, what are your future or potential what are the potential companies you're looking at investing in next? Or if you can't name names, what areas are you looking at in this space?
I think we're really interested in foundational companies. Through our work with Coinbase and the due diligence and investigation into the blockchain world, I think we're coming to a realization, like probably most of you have, that blockchain is a really big deal, and it's at the scale of the internet in terms of what it means to the world. So we are looking for foundational companies, companies that are really providing the infrastructure for the blockchain world that we're all trying to move towards. So it's foundational companies. I have a tendency, I'm old enough that I don't know how many people have actually done punch cards. How many people have done punch cards here? Oh, yeah, old people. I like it. Thank you, just like me. So we're the Lao Tzus of the group here. Essentially, we're actually looking at this as the next internet. And just as there were foundational companies that kind of were core to the development of the internet, think AOL and Amazon and Yahoo, Google, those types of companies, even more obscure companies like VeriSign. We invested in VeriSign in 1995. It was a business plan came to me. It's called Digital Certificates Inc. And we knew that we had to figure out okay, we're going to need this as part of the secure e-commerce structure, so we invested in VeriSign at a $10 million valuation. I think it's got an $11 billion market cap now. Same thing, we looked at search engines. At the time, the internet was emerging, and we looked at it and said, I think we're going to need some sort of e-commerce gateway, is what we called it, from a Visa perspective. And we looked across the landscape, and there were 6 search engines at the time. And Alta Vista was actually the best search engine, as far as we could tell, from a technology perspective. But Yahoo had the community behind it and more momentum, so we invested in Yahoo. And that, as you know, was a key company for quite some time. And so we're looking for those types of players that will emerge and be key infrastructure players for the blockchain world. And then when we're investing in companies, it's fairly straightforward. I mean, how compelling is the product? What's the value that's being delivered to a particular market? How big is that market? How fast is it growing? What's the competitive set within that market? The number one variable by far is the management team. We really look for exceptional entrepreneurs. And then it's really what's the financial profile or the margin characteristics of the business. And if we can find companies like that, we want to write $50 to $100 million checks and help them scale.
So when you'd mentioned the management team, a lot of the people in the cryptocurrency and blockchain space, they're very new. These are new entrepreneurs. They maybe haven't started a business before, this crypto business. So what are you sort of looking for there if these people are so brand new?
Yeah. Well, I have a tendency to oversimplify things because I'm just not that bright. But there's kind of two types of CEOs. There's the athletes and the magicians. The athletes are just who you think they are. They're the smart, good-looking leader. They're the quarterback. They're the people that everybody's going to rally behind. Guys like Stratton Sklavos. He's an athlete at VeriSign. Then and they can do well. The really interesting ones are the magicians, and they just move with a little different cadence. They see the world a little differently. This is the Jack Dorseys and Ev Williams of the world. Mark Zuckerberg's, Larry and Sergey. They've got a little different vibe about them, and magicians are much trickier as a venture investor to assess because they're just a little different. But the thing, I think the common thread is usually these entrepreneurs, even if they're young, they are incredibly passionate. They're very clear on what they want to do, and they work very hard. I mean, Brian Armstrong at Coinbase is right out of central casting for a great young tech CEO. He's so thoughtful. He's so strategic in his approach. He's got a super high integrity guy. He's not threatened. He's bringing in incredible talent around him. So I actually think Brian Armstrong may be on the scale of some of these other great entrepreneurs that we've seen out there. And so it doesn't matter on age. Oftentimes it's a question of how far will they scale. Like Mark Zuckerberg Zuck came into our office. He didn't come in his pajamas, but he was young, and he has scaled beautifully. Yeah. And you think about it, he brought in Sheryl Sandberg, and they've been an incredible team. And Larry and Sergey were young, and I've been fortunate to be around these people at the dawn of their company. I actually flew back from London and I happened to be seated next to Jeff Bezos in 1995, I think, or 96. And he described to me his whole vision of what Amazon would be. At the time, everybody thought, oh, it's just an online bookseller. But he actually had the whole view of this e-commerce river, Amazon. And he just kind of rolled it out to the public because he knew that was too much of a concept for everybody to really digest.
Yeah, interesting. So you had also mentioned blockchain as being foundational to what you want to invest in. It has, from my view, the blockchain space, especially private blockchain, it hasn't dried up, but it's gone a little quiet. I think there's a lot of people sort of waiting to deploy things and testing. And we've seen an increased rise in cryptocurrency. So I'm wondering if you're also looking at cryptocurrency plays.
We are, but we're pretty careful. We're more of a growth investor, so we want to, we like to wait for the dust to settle and see big players emerge. I think we're in a situation where there's a lot of kind of cross currents going on. I think Gartner actually has it right. The last time I saw them publish their Gartner hype curve, they've got blockchain kind of getting up there, but getting pretty close to coming down for the trough of disillusionment. But the secret in that curve is there's this little bump up here, but then there's a long growth curve.
Sure.
And so I think that's where we are with blockchain at the moment.
Okay. So we don't have a whole lot of time, but I wanted you to talk about how your interest or your previous experience in payments and banking has sort of, colored your judgment or shaped your view of the industry.
Yeah, when I was at Visa, I used to run the advanced technology group, and one of the things I learned is that technology is generally not the gating item in payment systems. We had, at this time, we were trying to figure out how do we get smart cards or chip cards deployed around the world. And, a big chicken or egg where, merchants aren't going to put in chip card readers if consumers don't have them. So my guys created a biometric payment system where you just put your finger on a reader and you could buy your lunch at the Visa cafeteria. It worked like a charm. But even though technology was there, the social issues around fingerprinting and reading fingerprints stalled that. And so I think we have a situation, payment systems hang around for a long time. You think about, coins have been around for, a couple thousand years. Paper money's still hanging around.
I mean, even checks.
Yeah.
So many people use checks still.
Yeah, exactly. It takes a long time. I think it's because we're talking about people's money. And so it's really not the technology that's the gating item. It's the system of guarantees and contractual liability between the parties that slows things down. So I think we're going to get there. I see we're kind of in, are we in a bubble? I think we're kind of in a situation where we're bubbling, right?
Bubbling.
Yeah.
Okay. Not in a bubble, but bubbling.
Yeah, I think we're kind of in a situation where you've got one thing where you've got this, narrative of Bitcoin is the kind of gold 2.0, and that move from traditional gold into this new store of value, and how long will that last? And then we've got kind of these platform wars between the Bitcoin, blockchain and the Ethereum blockchain, and those platforms and Stellar, and so those platform wars are going to go on for a little while, and then I think we do have a real bubble situation with the ICO environment where it's getting crazy. And when it starts getting crazy, that's when we have to be really careful. So we're kind of careful with the cryptocurrency aspect. We're much more interested in the infrastructure and the real companies underneath it all.
Gotcha. So in cryptocurrency, you're also lumping in ICO crypto tokens to that too.
Yeah, I think we're probably moving to a world, and I think it's going to take a while, where all the fiat currencies are turned into cryptocurrencies, and you have everything that's in Finance 1.0 that exists right now will be showing up in some form in Finance 2.0, and we're moving from these closed proprietary financial networks to this open financial network, which we got to figure out what to call.
Yeah,
Bailey and I were talking about that. No one's come up with it. We had closed networks, and then along came the internet, and now we've got closed financial systems, and we're moving toward this open financial system. OFS is really boring, so if somebody's got a good name, let me know. So
yeah. So just for the last question, this is something that we've talked about in the past, but how do you sort of reconcile investing in companies that seem to be bringing centralization back to this industry when the industry's claim to fame is decentralization?
Yeah.
So Coinbase is a prime example.
Yeah. Super interesting question. I think there's a short-term and a long-term answer. I think we as a species are moving toward, I was going to say, a 100-year march toward a more open, collaborative, kind of consensus-driven community. I actually don't think it's a march. I think it's going to be more like a roller coaster. And in that movement, there are going to be companies that have to be there to provide the connection points. And so I think someday we'll get to the point where you just trust the code and the crypto economics, and you just, the negotiation all happens peer-to-peer on everything, but we're a long ways away from that.
Oh, we're definitely a long ways away
some
from
people
that.
to try to pull it together. So I think we're stuck with centralization for a little while.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that's all the time that we have. Is there one question that anybody is just dying to ask? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So why not do an ICO with Coinbase was the question.
Yeah. I actually had dinner with Brian and Asif last night, and I think that really Coinbase, one of the keys with Coinbase is that we're striving to build the most trusted, secure exchange, and as one of those key foundational companies. Company's doing really well, has tremendous amount of cash, tremendous investor interest from institutional investors. So I think it could be a big landmark event, but I don't think the company needs to do that right now. Really, what's happening at Coinbase, I mean, we're early investors in Twitter and Snap, and we are in that hyper growth phase where it's kind of the era of the fail whale at Twitter, right? Where it's just the servers are melting because there's so much demand. So I know the Coinbase team is working really hard trying to just scale and make sure their customers are happy. So they're in that phase, and they're such a good team, and they're so high integrity that they'll get there on that front. So I think that's the focus right now, is just making sure that the customers are happy and the product portfolio is robust. And the company's in such a strong financial position, they really don't need cash at this stage of the game.
Sure. Cool. Yeah, we got to get off stage. Thank you guys very much, though.
Thanks.